Radiant Black is finally back. So the series took a bit of a break after the Catalyst War, but now it's finally back with issue 31, and it's known as the Rebuild Era. So why is it called the Rebuild Era? Well, it's because the series is entering a brand new story arc, a brand new status quo, but not only that, issue 31 is an excellent jumping on point for new readers wanting to get into the series. So you can just pick up issue 31, and in my opinion, I think you'll just be fine. But also Kyle Higgins and the team over at Black Market Narrative, they've been doing an excellent job keeping you guys up to date with what happened within the series by making shorts, comic books, to keep you up to speed with everything that's happened within the series. But if you want to go back and reread those previous issues, you can do that if you want to. I highly recommend it. Radiant Black is an excellent series, but you can just jump into issue 31 and you don't need to know the complete context of everything that happened before. I mean, there's even a little recap blurb at the start of the comic when you open it up. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of Radiant Black issue 31, I just want to do a big special shout out and a big special thank you to Kyle Higgins, because Kyle sent me an advance copy of Radiant Black issue 31, but also sent me a copy of the limited edition Radiant Black Deluxe Massive Edition Book 1 hardcover. That was a mouthful to say. So the lore behind this story is that when the limited edition hardcover went up for sale, I wanted to buy it. I couldn't buy it because it didn't ship to Australia. So I was like, sad face, guess I have to miss out on this. I get a message from Kyle saying, I'll sort you out, I'll hook you up. And within a month, on my doorstep arrived the hardcover book of Radiant Black, book 1, the year 1, book 1, whatever you want to call it. But special shout out and special thank you to Kyle for sending this to me, because I'm just flabbergasted and lost for words that Kyle did this for me. Like, he sent me the book free of charge. Like, I offered to pay him back for the shipping. Kyle said, nah, don't worry about it. And that just left me even more speechless. Like, thank you so much, Kyle, for sending that to me. Like, even saying it out loud, I'm lost for words. And, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, thank you so much for sending that to me, Kyle. Much appreciated. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. But I'll stop now because I'll probably start crying and you don't want to hear that. But let's get into Radiant Black issue 31 because there's a lot to talk about. So it's been 5 months since the Catalyst War happened, and Chicago is still in ruins after the robot alien invasion. And that's one thing I do like about seeing the world around us in Radiant Black, is that it's been 5 months and Chicago is barely fixing itself up after the big robot invasion. I mean, you see people who are homeless because of the robot invasion. Some people are trying to adapt to losing their loved ones because a lot of people were wiped out from the robot invasion. And it's just people adapting to everything that happened within the last 5 months. And it gets even deeper as we get the big plot twist within this issue. But Marshall is now Radiant Black, and you see Marshall trying to help people out with his brand new powers. And you'll see Marshall doing things like cleaning up robot parts all over the streets of Chicago to doing little things like getting cats out of trees. How is Marshall keeping up with all of this? Well, he's got a police scanner app on his phone where he's keeping an eye on all the danger going on right now, how he helps people out. So Marshall is using his brand new powers to fix up Chicago and help people out bit by bit with whatever he can do. And I appreciate we get to see Marshall's life outside of being Radiant Black. You have this one scene where he goes on this Tinder date with this girl called Erica, and things are as awkward as a Tinder date could be. I mean, you have this one scene where Erica talks about how she lost her aunt during the Catalyst War, but they weren't that close together, and Marshall's reflex response is by saying, oh, that's good, which I'm sure we've all been there before, where we learn terrible news from someone, and I guess because it's a stranger, we have that reflex response by saying, oh, that's a good thing, when we're not meant to say that, when actually it's a bad thing. So that's the humanized writing of these characters that I really do like, and it makes them relatable in a way. Now, Erica, I do wonder if we'll see her again. I mean, she mentions that she's into like conspiracy theories like Pizzagate and stuff like that, real world stuff. And then you've also got the Catalyst War stuff that happened, like the aliens and the robots that came to Earth. So I guess she did a little bit of online investigating of that stuff. So I do wonder if we'll see her again. And during the date, you get a little bit of insight into Marshall's mindset after becoming Radiant Black and how he feels about his new responsibility, because he says this: At first, it was overwhelming. I didn't know if I could do it on my own. There's a lot of responsibility and I've made mistakes before. Well, I've got another chance and there's so much to do, half the time I don't even know where to start. But I have to, and I have to be lights out at it because I've got something most people never do and I got to see what the alternative is. I owe it to everyone who trusted me. Everyone who died. I have to be better. So we get a good understanding of Marshall's mindset after becoming Radiant Black, and we'll definitely get into that even more later down the line in the issue. So the date seemingly goes well, except Marshall doesn't really get a follow-up date in the end, and Erica says that she's going to skip the next one. Now, we get some insight on what Marshall also does inside of his apartment when he's not being Radiant Black, and one of the things he does is he looks up Radiant Black podcasts. One of the things he looks up is Radiant Black a Good Guy, and we get all these different search results that come up. We get Circle Guy News, Sightings, Who is No One, Radiant Black, White, Red and All Over, that's a nice little reference. Curious City, Thinking RB, Grey Wolf Feed, Radiant Whack, Gil Meets Parallel World, again a nice little reference. So Marshall sits there in the dark, drinking, listening to these different Radiant Black podcasts where people have their opinions on them. Some people love them, some people hate them, and some people massively hate them. So he eventually passes out and he gets waken up by Ava, Radiant Pink, where I guess they're rooming together now. I guess that's what's going on. And she asks him a question by saying, "Yo, why is your background a kid's shoe?" Which is something we've seen throughout this issue, where Marshall's phone background is this kid's shoe that we see. And I went back and I flicked through all of Catalyst War to see if I can find this shoe. I could not find this shoe. Unfortunately, I thought, is there a scene where we see this shoe? And I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere. And unfortunately, I couldn't find it. If you found it, thumbs up. Tell me where you found it if you did find it, because this might be alluding to something very important later down the line. Now, Marshall then gets a message on his phone saying that there's been a disturbance of a man screaming in the hotel room by himself, or screaming to himself in a hotel room. And Marshall doesn't want to deal with it. He then gets another emergency call saying a man in a room looking for Radiant Black at the same address. So he decides to go check it out. So Marshall decides to go check it out. He enters the hotel room and no one's there. He then enters the bathroom, and what we get is a really gruesome sight where you have this guy tied up and gagged in the bathtub, throat slit open, and you then hear a beeping noise. Marshall checks out the beeping noise and suddenly a bomb goes off, a massive bomb. I mean, this is able to knock him back, but not only that, damage his suit, and the explosion is very interesting looking with what kind of tech was used, because it looks like it was made to harm Radiant Black with how his suit was sparking from the impact of the blast. So, because of the large blast, a bunch of debris starts falling on a bunch of homeless people camping around the area, and Marshall goes to help them out. He's just barely able to save them, but they're not grateful for the help. I'll just say that. They said they should have been better off dead, and this is all his fault. And while Marshall is trying to stop the building from falling on all these people, you see the person who slit the man's throat and planted the bomb at the scene of the crime, and he's just watching Marshall saving all those people. And this guy's outfit is really freaking amazing. Like, he's got that alien tech going on, he's got this jacket on, he kind of looks like a futuristic version of Red Hood almost. We don't know a lot about this guy, we just know that the name is Jaeger, and no doubt about it, they're probably going to be the antagonist of this upcoming story arc or the next couple of issues. So I want to learn more about this character, because when you have a character in a mask and they've got a freaking jacket on and they've got a bunch of pockets and they've got a bunch of high-tech weapon, it just makes me more curious, and this guy's design is really sick. I love this guy's design. It looks really freaking cool. After that, you then have Kieran showing up. Kieran being a Fed agent within the Radiant Black universe. And I gotta say, I like his time skip design. His hair looks a lot more scruffier. He's got a bit of after shadow going on. I really dig it. But Kieran drops the big bombshell with what happened after the Catalyst War. And it's a big doozy. So, this is the big reveal. So right before the final trial, Wendell sent a bunch of Marshall's friends over to the other timeline to save the Infernal Girl, so the stuff that happened in Supermassive 2024. But when they found out it was all going to end, they decided that one person wasn't enough to send back. The thing is, what happened, they brought back everyone to their timeline. So everyone the timeline already had. So that means in this situation, it sounds like we've got a bunch of doubles of people roaming around the streets. But if this brought back everyone, does that mean there's people who came back alive, people who came back dead? So we've got all these doubles roaming around within the merged timeline after the Catalyst War happened. And it looks like Kieran and his crew tried to do the best they could to sort of fix this situation by saying that he put some of them in witness protection, but some of them declined. There was an incident where a handful of them escaped, so I wonder what happened there. But Marshall says that, like, we got to figure out what's going on because that bomb went off and I haven't felt something like that since the war. So whoever's out to get me is out to get me. And Kieran replies with, well, they do hate you. And Marshall's like, what does that mean exactly? Kieran then goes on to explain by saying, these people came from a world that was totally destroyed, a world blown up, families killed because of Radiant Black. I hate to say it, but do you really blame them? And Marshall replies with, but that wasn't me. That timeline doesn't exist anymore. No one even knows about it. And then we get another bombshell where Kieran says, when was the last time you checked online? We then get this awesome page where Marshall is on his laptop, he's on 4chan I guess, looking up all these message boards about people's opinions on Radiant Black since the Catalyst War happened, and it's Conspiracy Theories 101. But a lot of them definitely got a laugh out of me. There's some really good Easter eggs in this message board as well. If you type in the hyperlink for the YouTube video that's on one of the pages, it actually leads to the Radiant Black animated series, and that's like another fantastic Easter egg. You have someone who's almost catching on where they say the other timeline is for a donut shop, and someone says it's not fucking Narnia, dude. But the best one that definitely got a chuckle out of me is saying, what would be the first thing you would do with gravity powers? And someone said Sydney Sweeney. And then someone replies with, imagine joking it with gravity powers. And then the reply, oh, this one definitely got a chuckle out of me when I first read it. They say, is it gay to jerk off your homie with gravity powers? It's just like that message board slop that got a chuckle out of me that you would see on something like 4chan. Like, I love that reference. I love that reference. I love it. I love this panel. I definitely like it. It's like that John Cena meme about Black Arachnia, except it's about like people jerking each other off with gravity powers. It's amazing. I love it. Got a chuckle out of me. So after that, you then have Ava coming in and she's about to like go off at Marshall for using her razors, but then Marshall finally reveals about the shoe background on his phone, and he reveals that when Nathan and him went over to the other timeline, their phones got synced, so whatever was on that Marshall's cell synced to his. And he questions, why would he be had taken that picture? What happened to him? Or what happened to me? Why would he do all those things? And Eva tries to say by saying, look, Marshall, you didn't do any of those things. But Marshall says, yes, I did. I met him. He was me. I did those things. I'm going to have to think about it every day for the rest of my life. The only bit that's kept me sane for the past 5 months is that no one else knew about it, and now they do. So that's Marshall's mindset that he's had for the past 5 months ever since the Catalyst War, is the guilt, whatever that Marshall did in the other timeline, and he thought that no one else would know about it. Like, no one would know what happened. Like, everyone's memories, like, got erased after the Catalyst War, possibly. Or no, everyone forgot about that other Marshall. But it doesn't work like that, and people know about what he did, and he has to live with the consequences of those actions, even though it wasn't him. But he's got the guilty conscience of whatever that Marshall did in that other timeline, he's going to have to live with. And if he does find out what that other Marshall did in the other timeline, that is going to be some crazy freaking shit that he's going to have to deal with when he learns about all that other stuff that he did in the other timeline, because that's going to be a massive bombshell and a lot for him to deal with when he gets that bombshell dropped on him, because in that other timeline, he killed Radiant Red and Radiant Pink. So how is he going to deal with that when he went like crazy god mode in the end? Like, how is he going to live with that? Like, I am very curious to see how is he going to react to that? How is he going to deal with that? But I'm guessing that Marshall is going to have to learn to deal with what that other Marshall did in that timeline. He shouldn't let it bother him. And Marshall is now worried that he's worried what people are going to do about it now that they know that they remember what happened in that other timeline. And on the final page, you have Yeager in his office prepping his alien tech, and he's got this massive pinboard beside him, and he's tracing everything back, and he's slowly hunting Radiant Black. And it looks like he's been watching his every move for a while now. So, yeah, that's where the issue ends for Radiant Black issue 31, and I gotta say, it's a pretty solid start to a brand new story arc, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where it's gonna go next. So, if you want to see more Radiant Black content, I'll definitely be pumping it out on the channel, along with Rogue Sun when we get issue 25 next week, or the next couple of weeks, so definitely stay tuned for that. So, with that said, I'll catch you guys later in the next video. Peace out, take care, and bye.